Hello and welcome back to another album review. This is Boogie's Everything's for Sale. Boogie is a Compton rapper from California who came up to the scene with his first mixtape in 2014, Thirst 48. After a couple of mixtapes in 2017, he signed a deal with Shady Records. For me, it was then that I first started noticing him, but even after signing to a major label, I didn't went back to listen to his older stuff. So in 2019, he released his debut album, Everything's for Sale. I decided to give it a go for the simple reason he is signed to a label managed by Eminem. This album is something that you don't typically expect from a Compton rapper, especially from a rapper coming from a label managed by Eminem, but this definitely feels like a fresh of breath air for this label. It's smooth, it's very laid back and very introspective. He sets the tone for the rest of the album with the first track called Tired Reflections, which is probably my favorite track on the whole project. It has that beautiful spoken word in which he lists things that people say to him, like talking about always not having money, being sad, being depressed, and he flips it by saying that if you're tired of hearing it, I'm tired of living it. He continues with the track Silent Ride, which is another smooth, laid-back track in which he talks about a real-life event when his girlfriend drove him home after he was drunk and he was sleeping inside the car. She was reading through his phone, looking through text, and after a little bit of arguing, she basically gave him the silent treatment. That ties into the whole outro of the first track, Tired Reflection, when she's like talking about homies ain't shit and stuff like that, like men ain't shit. And he was kind of offended by that. This album goes through a lot of Boogie's negative feelings and his struggle with depression, his own anxiety, his self-doubt. The production feels very laid back, and combined with Boogie's performances, it's really hard for someone to go back to back, or even after a certain period of time go back to the album. That's not to say that this album is bad or anything, or Boogie is not very lyrical, but the energy he brings makes the lyrics not shine as much as they're supposed to. Swap Meet and LOL SMH continues the theme of him and his relationship with his girlfriend. But what makes LOL SMH stand out is the luxurious and spacious
Coffee break.
Stop.
Coffee break.
Break. But what makes LOL SMH stand out is the luxurious and spacious flavors on the cut, with Boogie tapping into some very interesting topics about how we mask our feelings through social media, like how we suppress our mental health issues and insecurities under light social expressions. There are a few slip bangers on this album to help but not make this album very monotone and grab your attention a bit, like Soho, like Rainy Days and Self-Distraction. But either they feel like being cut too short, or the feature is not pleasing enough for the track. And on Rainy Days, even though I appreciate Eminem's efforts of bringing a little bit of life and energy to this album, some of the lyrics he wrote makes it very difficult to listen to. For example, these are the opening lines for the verse of his. So, I left my legacy hurt, fucking absurd. Like a shepherd having sex with a sheep, fuck what you heard. And what makes that even worse is that he is so aggressive about it that you kind of cringe. Like, it doesn't even being funny about it. Self-Distraction's eerie production and Boogie's energy and verses makes it appealing, but again, it felt like it was being cut short. There are plenty instances where this happened, like on track Live 95 and the last 3 tracks, which include Self-Distraction. I'm listening to these tracks and I leave wanting more out of them, either for making the songs more lush and adventurous, or illustrating Boogie's points, thoughts and themes better. Boogie is cut from a cloth of artists that can both sing and or rap, but the singing, for the most part, only small doses are bearable. The track Skydive is a chore to go through because of Boogie's raspy and nasal voice. And even though the sequel to that track is a bit better from a production standpoint, the same issues from the first track still exist to this, and Black's feature isn't enough to make it better or help it, I don't know. I feel like this album is giving me glimpses of what I like from Boogie. I like tracks that have some energy to them, or the production has a personality to some extent. I like tracks like Whose Fault and No Warning. Whose Warning has some trumpets sprinkled in the second half of the track, and No Warning has those background vocals that really helps mask Boogie's weaknesses. Overall, I feel like this album did okay. It's not a demanding listen by any means, but I believe someone will enjoy this album more if they can relate on an emotional level. It starts really strong, the production and the album as a whole is well put together, and it's a short album, it's easy to go through, it's easy to listen for the first time, and it has some moments that can draw your attention, but it's just that, moments. I feel some of the more enjoyable tracks were fleshed out a bit more, or the features were not so underwhelming. This album would have been better. So those were my thoughts about this album. I know I'm very late to it, and I will be late for my other reviews, but they will be out, I promise. What did you think of the album? Was it enjoyable? Was it not? Tell me in the comments below your thoughts. Hit the like if you like this video. It's a bit different from the previous ones. I would appreciate if you showed some support or some constructive criticism about it. Hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications for future videos, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.